Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at the big story we are tracking for you. Shanghai emerged from a 2-month citywide lockdown last week, but some residential compounds have been sealed off again. The curbs are back as Shanghai has reported 4 new confirmed symptomatic COVID cases, all in zones already under quarantine. Shanghai is China's most cosmopolitan city and its biggest business hub. After easing many restrictions last week, the Chinese metropolis was still struggling to fully emerge from the punishing curbs. But with the new reported cases, authorities have now sprung into action to pursue a dynamic zero COVID policy. Now, this means authorities will quickly enforce movement curbs in a bid to control COVID-19 transmission risks. Parts of Shanghai have begun imposing new lockdown restrictions. On Saturday, Shanghai will lock down Minhang, which is a district of 2.7 million people. None of the new cases were in Minhang district. Still, it will be placed under a closed management. All residents in the district have been ordered to stay at home for 2 days. Authorities will conduct mass testing, and restrictions will be lifted once the testing is completed. Now, for more on this, our correspondent Richard Kimber is joining us from Hong Kong. Hello to you, Richard. Now, the curbs are back in Shanghai as they have reported 4 new symptomatic cases. Take us through the latest.
That's right, this is a major setback, not just for residents in Shanghai, but also for international businesses, many of which are just about getting back to their fully operational levels right now after these 2 months of lockdowns. Residents in the Minhang district, as you mentioned, some 3 million of them almost, will end up having to stay at home for 2 more days after those 2 months of lockdowns, this time for a mass testing operation. It's not been made completely clear to those residents yet what will happen if a large number of cases are found to be positive in that district, but the concern is, of course, that would prompt a longer immediate lockdown for that entire district that may then spread to other surrounding districts in the city. And the major concern here is this is exactly the unpredictability that many international businesses have been worried about with regards to China's zero COVID policy, that this kind of lockdown or this kind of heavy testing initiative could be brought in at short notice over and over again as the next few months roll on, despite this lockdown being lifted. And it's that unpredictability which is rattling stock markets in China. It's unnerving international businesses with operations that either are based in Shanghai or rely on the manufacturing capacity of Shanghai, and really causing a great deal of unease around global supply chains.
Right, and Richard, the authorities are conducting mass testing in the area and saying that restrictions will only be lifted once the testing is completed. How long is this expected to take, and what will be the knock-on effects?
Well, they're trying to complete everything in 48 hours and urging residents to be compliant with the rules in order to make that happen. But there's already signs of frustration on social media, with questions being asked of the Shanghai municipal authorities about how this will be implemented, what will happen if people are out of town at that particular time, and all kinds of practical considerations which are slightly more complicated to organise for a quick 2-day test versus what had been a 2-month lockdown, where authorities in the city basically had full control over the entire 25 million population. So, as I say, a great deal more questions to understand how this can effectively continue in Shanghai if this kind of policy is rolled out time and time again over the coming months. Now, health authorities are repeatedly saying that this is still, in their eyes, the best way forward. The case numbers remain incredibly low by global standards, just 4 cases in Shanghai today, and the death rate almost 0 over the last few weeks. Health authorities say that's entirely because of these lockdown measures. So there's no real sense from the health authorities they want to shift away from this zero COVID approach. But talking to chambers of commerce from both Europe, the US, they're all saying the same thing, which is if this continues, there's going to be a larger exodus of foreign business and potentially foreign capital from Shanghai if people just can't cope with these types of repeated measures.
Absolutely, Richard. Thank you very much for bringing us all the latest details out of Shanghai.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.